I would like to open the consent agenda item for the Montecito Board Architecture Review for September 5th, 2024. And I believe we have one item.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and we do have a planner memo for this item.
And that's SCP Montecito LLC alteration and accessory structures for 206 Middle Road. Okay, is the applicant, oh, you have a planner memo? All
Yes.
right, let's see now. So to reduce the hardscape and retain storm water on site. The applicant has provided a stormwater control plan on sheet AS 103 showing how they plan to retain stormwater on site. Please note that this plan also shows a new detached accessory dwelling unit, but this is under a separate permit, not under MBAR's purview. Okay. You have a drawings. Here we go. So let's see now. There are some comments from the MBAR previous. A nice project. Restudy hardscape. Study option to reduce hardscape and retain stormwater on site. And no, yeah. So in return for preliminary and final approval on consent. Is the applicant on Zoom?
Yes, hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you, since we are here for preliminary and final, can you go through, I guess we have several comments, had to do with the hardscape and then the stormwater, and then quickly run us through the drawing, make sure that we have everything for final approval.
No problem. Yeah, thanks for having us back. You kind of took my intro there with the comments. So yeah, I'll be addressing reducing the hardscape and retaining the stormwater. And we also have a ADU separate submittal in tandem with this building submittal. So as part of this building submittal, we've included the future ADU in all of our FAR calculations here on the title sheet, as well as in our stormwater on-site retention, which you'll see on AES 103.
Okay, let's go through the, I guess the landscape plan, that the hardscape.
I'm sorry, do we have the previous submittal, so I have some way to gauge where we were?
We do not have it as part of this PDF. Get this PDF set. So from the last set you've seen, the garage location and the facades have not changed. They've been maintained and the setbacks have been maintained, and we've just continued to detail them more thoroughly and progress a set of plans. So it should match the intent of these drawings are pulling up. This is the first conceptual.
Yeah, we wanted to I just wanted to see what the difference, if you don't mind.
Yeah, there was a second conceptual set that we had between this where we removed that wall on the front.
You just had it, I think, actually. Or you had a site plan that was sure, if you have the landscape plan that would be better, but that works.
So this was the previous submittal. And so you have a new garage. And yes, and you're converting the existing garage into bedrooms.
Yeah, so we're converting the existing garage into bedrooms, and we're building a new detached garage in the same location that we have hardscape right now. So really the impact of hardscape to our site is really minimal. It's in the hundreds, only a couple hundred in total. So, and not including the ADU. So we have a stormwater plan. I think the comment regarding reducing the hardscape, part of that was in reference to this front entry where we have two paths coming off the existing porch. One of the comments was to maybe look at the path coming off the driveway and reduce it in size or pattern in order to create separation of entrances so the front entrance is more pronounced. The more we looked at it as a team, but we thought just based on site conditions and the fact that you're going to be approaching as a guest the entry from the street, and then as a resident you're going to be approaching it from the driveway, that differentiation was already expressed in the entry features and the landscaping. So we ended up keeping that walkway the same. But this pathway you see here off the existing porch is totaling pretty much the cumulative remodel portion of new hardscape. So on AS 103, we show a stormwater control plan where we treat that by using directed downspouts to landscaped areas.
Can we see that one, David? Storm.
Yeah, that would be our third site plan sheet near the top. Yeah, so if you look at the, just for reference, if you look at the sheet before this, AS 102, that is the scope of this development for this plan set. So the conversion of the garage and then the detached garage where existing uncovered parking was. And then if you go to the next sheet, yeah, AS 103 here, we're taking into account the future ADU as part of our new impervious surface. And there's plenty of space on site where we're treating the rainwater with directed downspouts and landscaping. And
Yep.
so those attached areas where we are able to meet the minimum requirement.
So you have all the details for the new garage, the roof plan.
Yes. If we continue through the sheet or the set here, we have floor plans. And then here, yeah, roof plan on A121. Roof details and high fire severity details, as well as color materials on A201. And then we have roof, eave, and rake detailing further in the set. Existing proposed sections. And so we had the sections of the garage, and then we also had 3 sections of the proposed garage. And here on A701, we have the roof detailing, which match the same exact eaves and rakes that we saw in the conceptual review.
All right. Well, okay, are you done with your presentation?
Yes, I am. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Robert.
So, so obviously the comment regarding the 2 walkways came from me because that's something that I react to every time I see it.
Mhm.
It's not important enough for me to hold you up in any way. I still feel strongly that there should be these kinds of projects, that there should be a hierarchy of the front walkway coming from the public street tends to be more, even if ceremonial, even if you use the driveway still functionally, that walkway should be wider, and that maybe the trellis that you would have with it would be associated with the front walkway and not with the walkway coming off the driveway. So I think you kind of mix the message when you do that of the sense of arrival. But so I wouldn't do it that way. But I would, it's not important enough to me. I think the rest of the plan and all that is nicely done. And so the other aspect that I did see mentioned was the roads encroachment aspect of that. And I don't know if you've been dealing with roads lately at any other project, but that can be a tough path. So they're looking at sight lines, and their formula is pretty restrictive on that. So you might just kind of keep that in mind, that you kind of need to deal with that issue. You might have some plant material that's close, or like right now, you're not showing the edge of pavement in the landscape plan, but I see it on the site plan. So I'm just kind of, that was a comment that was mentioned by staff to us. So just kind of a heads up on that. But other than
Thank
that, I mean, it's something that I would approve. So.
Thank you, Robert. All right, so thank you, and that will conclude the consent items.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to point out that we did get a comment letter on this one.
That was what I
Right,
was.
but that should be a part of the main meeting, Ray.
Sure, I just didn't want us to forget.
Thank you.
I just wanted to confirm if we got some sort of approval on this item, official approval.
All right, it's 1 p.m. and I would like to start the MBAR meeting for September 5th, 2024. And first item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone?
Mr. Chair, I have not received any requests to speak at this time.
Okay, close public comment. To number 2, agenda status report. Any changes, any?
This is noted on the agenda, but we did get a request from the applicant for item number 2 on Butterfly Lane to drop the item. They are going to make some additional changes, and I believe that they actually have a change of representation as well.
Also, it's dropped from today.
Drop from today, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, let's be formal about it.
yeah, have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to cancel today's meeting on 85, 87, 89 Butterfly Lane, item number 2.
Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So that's the only thing, right? Okay, now back to next item, minutes. We're going to review the minutes of the August 22nd, 2024.
And Mr. Chair, I do believe before you guys make a motion to approve that we do have, I think, public comment on this one.
Yeah, so first, comments, anyone on?
Yeah, I had a couple things. I think on item C1, item 1, their applicant to work with planner and consult with MBAR member Sen. I think it's probably you, Rob, right? Fowler?
We talking about the
To study the
101?
driveway configuration.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be Fowler.
And then the same thing on item 2, or 1, sorry, item 1, there, item 5, there it says Subcommittee of MBAR members Isaac and Sen. Again, that should be Fowler, I believe, too, so. Both landscape.
Actually.
Okay.
That was all I found.
Anyone else? All right, so, yeah, I have no other comments, so we need to open the public comments on this item. And you have anyone that would like to address the board?
Linda Shin is our first speaker.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, so item 3, we were on comment number 3, study relocating windows to protect neighbor privacy. I was hoping we could amend that to say study reducing. I think the concern was just the amount of glazing.
So instead of relocating, you thinking it should be reducing?
Yeah, I don't think the discussion was about not having any windows. It was on that side, it was just questioning the amount of it.
And David, if it's the applicants or the one of the neighbors?
Oh, no, this is the applicant.
How about the word restudy? Could we use that instead of restudy windows to protect neighbor privacy?
Skip.
Or, you know, we can say restudy the privacy issue facing the neighbor.
I think we thought there was a cumulative number of issues that together would be effective, and it wasn't any one
Yeah.
thing, so.
So can we
Could you repeat that?
rephrase that, restudy the privacy issue facing the neighbors? Facing the, that would be the west side neighbors. No, is it the west?
Seems like it's just saying it's more general than that. It's just to protect neighbor privacy. So I think that applies with any window on any side, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Maybe we can say this,
Kind of keep it broad. I think that's all
Yeah,
they're.
that's what I'm saying.
Trying to keep it.
restudy of the Windows location to protect the privacy of neighbors facing, I believe that's west. North is the back.
North is at the top, was, if
Yeah.
you're facing it from.
Yeah, facing
street,
the
it
west.
was The
west,
left
yeah.
side, that was north.
Can we go back to item 1, revisit those comments?
Should we finish what she's got? Was that all she had?
Can I say about the one that we were just talking about, number 3?
Please.
Item number 6, study frontage landscaping and consider more native plantings. I also said more Mediterranean, so native/Mediterranean.
Are we fine with that?
That's it.
Did we answer all of Linda's comments?
Okay,
I'm sorry, Ms. Shin, did,
I just want to know how we changed. So did we amend 3 to say something different?
We did.
yes.
You said
Gonna say-
restudy. We just said restudy, right?
That restudy windows to protect neighbor privacy. Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you.
Robert, you have anything?
Yes, it says guardrail is a good change compared to previous concrete.
Which item is it?
This is
one.
number 1.
Number 1.
And I believe we were concerned about the ability with the guardrail to get trees in there. And our concern is this gateway corridor to Montecito. And we suggested mixing it up, maybe with some guardrail and some concrete barrier, but making sure that we had space for trees.
I can speak to that. It was confusing because the original proposal had a mix of stuff. And then this proposal, basically, they went to a methodology, which I guess was the concrete barriers where that allowed them to put trees throughout. So I think they got rid of, when it first came in, we asked for a mix because with one, I was at the guardrail where they couldn't have trees. So they came back with a solution at a greater expense where they could have trees throughout. So they got rid of, I think, was the guardrails that didn't allow them to have trees.
But-
So that's where it was confused. I was confused as well last time.
Yeah, I think that we were kind of on the right track by mixing it up a bit. In other
But-
words, not just having the concrete.
No, what I'm saying is they got rid of they got rid of the one solution where you couldn't have trees at all. They basically, the whole improvements reflects use of, I thought it was the concrete barriers where they could have trees throughout. Didn't-
Exactly.
Yeah, that wasn't well explained.
So it expanded the planting
Yeah,
capabilities.
yeah. So that you're thinking of what was presented in the very first time. And so, yes, we did ask them to mix it up. And so then they came back and they didn't mix it up. They just gave us the solution where you can have trees wherever.
That means a concrete barrier the full length of that corridor.
So, okay, I don't remember which one. Do you remember, Stacy, which is?
Well, it's only this one section in particular that they were actually coming to amend with this. It didn't really include like the overpasses and stuff, but just the one section, I believe, is it the Olive Mill section down? If we go back and review it, because it was just a very small section, but it expanded the planting by going to just the guardrail in that section.
And based on the comment here, it makes it sound like they got rid of the concrete barrier and put the guardrail
Yes.
in that section.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that looks like overall with the previous
Yeah.
phases either, but
We'll see it when it comes back.
Mr. Chair, is there language as how you'd like comment number 2 to be changed?
Okay, so are we,
Correct.
we choose correct,
I do too.
Robert?
Yeah.
All right, so can I have the motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 22nd as amended?
I'll move to approve meeting minutes from August 22nd as amended.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to AMBAR members informational briefings. Anyone done this, going anywhere, seeing anything? Doing anything?
Well, yes. Stacy and I did meet, did do the subcommittee. We met with the Caltrans folks and we went around and around on all the things they couldn't do. And I think the essence of what we kind of came down with is we asked that they simplify the plan and that they kind of reduce the numbers and kind of variation on selection and simplify it. But we specifically wanted them to use more specimen-sized plant material at those 2 overpasses. And they pushed back on that. And I know I suggested I wouldn't approve that. And I think Stacy feels the same way, that we wouldn't approve it unless that they kind of had some punch and some specimen-sized plant material at the 2 overpasses.
And also that they take the palm trees and separate them from the canopy trees so that they have stands alone and don't interrupt and grow into the canopies of all the canopy trees. So they're going to take and put those into specific sections for palms.
I think they have like some specific mitigation numbers they're trying to meet. And I think we'd rather like than having it resolved by having a lot of something. We'd rather have, something simplified with less, but more meaningful size plant material at those 2 locations where we want those 2 overpasses to have. And I think Robert kind of keyed into this, is that we want it to kind of, have a Montecito feel and have, and be a much stronger statement at those two overpasses, is what the community would want.
Thank you.
Everything?
Anyone else? Yeah, so I also had a meeting with the Caruso team for the Miramar Hotel. Specifically, I met with Bryce Ross and Justin Caruso as they were showing the new design for the new shopping center and the affordable housing. The only thing kind of interesting to me was based on what I learned, and I'm not sure it's true or not, but it seemed to me like the new shopping center that doesn't have to go back to MBOR because it's some sort of state law had to do with affordable housing, and we can allow 5 hearings total that include a meeting they had with us. And I think we're going to have one with the MPC and a couple others and something like that. And if more than 5 hearings, then it will be approved by the state. It's something that I'm not sure, but I find that rather interesting. So I don't know, but you might have a brand new project going right in the heart of Montecito without a comment from MBOR. That's the take of it. All right. Okay. So next staff update.
I just have a couple quick things. I just want to give the board members a heads up that on the agenda for next time, we have 2 site visits scheduled. So just want to give you a heads up on that. I think I reported on this last time, but the Montecito Planning Commission is scheduled to review the Miramar on a special hearing on October 2nd. What wasn't set in stone last time, but it is now, is that the Planning Commission is set to review the Biltmore project on October 16th. And keeping in the theme of the Biltmore, and this is what Stacy had been referring to earlier, I did receive an email from KSBY with a request to speak to one of the board members regarding the Biltmore project. So we can wait for John to come back if anyone would be willing to speak to Ms. Lamar. I'm happy to pass on that information. And additionally, it's not compulsory. You could decline that invitation as well.
When would they like to speak to one of us?
Let's see. Her email says, I would like to have a quick 5-10 minute interview with someone from the MBAR. My deadline is in the next couple of weeks.
Next couple of weeks.
I'm not sure
Okay,
how long.
Then I think that we probably can wait for John to get back.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
my speaking with the Montecito Journal, so that's enough for me, so.
Okay.
Is that all right for everyone?
Oh, I deferred it to John Watson when she contacted me in email, and I texted him as well.
Okay.
And you mentioned that the Biltmore is coming back to going to in front of the MPC on October 16th.
Correct.
That was fast.
Biltmore?
Yeah.
On it, for the Miramar.
No, Miramar is October 2nd.
Yeah. Oh, and Biltmore.
Can I comment real quickly? I've also been contacted by the Santa Barbara Independent that would like an interview. So I don't know where that fits in with,
We can put that in the informational briefings. What was the topic that they talked to you about?
Biltmore.
That was about more. Okay.
There's nothing stop you from doing that, so help yourself.
David, I will be gone at the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so now we're moving on to the Montecito consent agenda. We had one item today. C1 206 Middle Road, SCP Montecito LLC, and myself and Rob, we reviewed and we Before we recommend it for approval, since this item is back for both preliminary and final, I'd like to open the public comment for item C1. Anyone in the audience who'd like to address C1?
We did not receive any speaker slips, but we did have receive a letter on this item.
Mhm. And okay, which is from Jamie Brown. Increased speed in traffic, be soon that the fish part receive appropriate public works encroachment permit, including a wide footpath without planting any stone brick mailbox or entrance amenity, is set back out of the public right of way, which is deep on Middle Road. Thank you. Okay, so I would like to make a motion for approve C1 as submitted. Second. Rob.
Sorry. Second.
All those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Now we are on to the regular agenda. And item 1, 227 Hot Springs. Is applicant here?
Hello, hi, good afternoon.
Okay, so this is a brand new item. It's a conceptual review for an interior remodel and addition of approximately 1,564 square feet to the existing residence. And currently there's a 2,500 square feet with garage of approximately 400 square feet. And the project will require 116 cubic yard cut and 192 cubic yard to fill. And at a 0.68 acre parcel in zone 2E1. All right, all yours.
First of all, good afternoon, board members. Thank you for the opportunity for us to present to you today our schematic design for our property over at 227 Hot Springs Road. We're presenting today for conceptual review. In the room with me, I have Amr Samaha, myself, I'm Mo Samaha. We are the owners of this property, and we also have Elena Manvilova in the office with us here, and we're representing the owners and the architects of this project. One thing I wanted to note real quick, I'm not sure if there's the updated set of plans, but I had sent in an updated set of plans just to kind of facilitate the conversation a little further. I'm not sure if they've been received. Are they available on file, or should we proceed kind of with the set of plans instead? Something to note is we had added a few 3D images and renders just to kind of facilitate the general discussion regarding the massing that we're trying to get some guidance on and get approval on here today. So could someone please chime in on whether the other plan sets available or not?
I believe that your planner, Ms. Beers, had indicated that she was going to upload those files. What page could we go to that would indicate whether or not those plans got updated?
It would be from this page. So we had changed this around a little bit. So I believe this is the older plan set. It's not nearly as detailed.
So I did get copied on that, so it doesn't look like the planner uploaded those files. We can do a couple things. We can come back to this item, or we can take a little break and I can download those files.
So let me ask, is there a sheet that had an FAR information? Is it on that?
So the FAR information, the calculator, we had uploaded it, but we intend to also replace it on the general plan set. With respect to the FAR, the max allowable that we have is 3,500 square feet, and we're just slightly south of that, 3,494 that you can see there on that sheet in front of you.
So obviously this is not filled out completely. Correctly or completely.
So I think, yeah, we had updated it since then, but yeah, we'll be uploading that as well as part of it.
All right, so we have drawings or no?
Yes, that is correct. We have our existing site plan, our proposed site plan. We also have a few elevations and some 3D images and renders that we wanted to display today.
Yeah, so why don't you go through your presentation and see what you have?
Actually, Mr. Chair, so, I mean, if they're providing more information, for instance, there's no survey that shows existing trees, and you look at the photos, there's clearly some existing specimen trees. So do they have that information on the on the additional stuff that, because it may be worth waiting for that if it's more complete and allows us to make a better determination on this project. That's all.
So this hearing, the conceptual review, so you might as well go through what you have, and then we can, you know, probably request more information or continue to the next item, next meeting.
Mr. Chair, if I could just request, what is the date on the plan set that you uploaded or that you provided to the planner?
The date is August 29th, 2024.
I'll see if I can locate the plans.
All right, so let's go through what you have right now, if you can.
Okay, sure thing. Perhaps it's best to start off with the subject site photos, just to kind of orient the location of the property. It's located at 227 Hot Springs Road. I'm not sure if you have the site photos available for us to look at the moment. So here we just have some exterior images of where the property is located. As I mentioned earlier, it's located at 227 Hot Springs, which is just a few minutes out from the golf club in that area. The first image there just shows a street view of looking back at the property from Hot Springs Road. The second image below just shows the front exterior of the property, just kind of showing the existing front facade. And if we scroll down to the second page, we'll have some additional images to show. See on this next page here, this is the front side exterior. On the left side of it, you can see where the actual entrance to the property is. The property has this decorative plywood siding at the moment. And the next photo will show the rear exterior of the property. The following photos after these will kind of show what the neighborhood looks like. So these are the properties. 228 Hot Springs is diagonally opposed from our property over at 227 Hot Springs. As you can see, you know, most of the neighbors in this particular area have high privacy hedging. We kind of picked out some images where you can actually see into the properties from the street. And that would include 228 Hot Springs and 230 Hot Springs, which is on the photo below as well. And that just kind of provides a little bit of the context of the street, of the views across the street. And then the following image at 235 Hot Springs Road. This is our neighbor directly north of the property. I'd say northeast of the property. And this is located at 235 Hot Springs. You can see they opted for this, you know, 6-foot wall between the interior and exterior of the property. That kind of concludes the portion of, you know, just kind of contextualizing where our property is. In terms of how to best proceed forward, if we have the new plan set, I'm more than happy to kind of just dive into it. The general presentation that we're going to be today discusses the scope of work, which is an interior remodel and structural addition to the property. This consists of 1,500 square feet, which is broken up into 1,000 square feet added to the main residence and approximately 500 square feet as an ADU. Part of our intention is to also add a pool onto the property as well.
So there's no other drawings.
I believe I've uploaded the correct plan drawing set into the folder. Are you able to look?
Okay, well, yeah, can you go open the conceptual? Let's see here. That's that one.
Thank you. That's great. Fantastic. So as discussed earlier, the property currently has an allowable FAR of about approximately 3,500 square feet. Our proposed FAR is slightly below that. I believe it's at 3,494, and we'll be updating this sheet with the FAR calculator just to kind of be consistent and have that on there. The general intention of this project is to retain as much of the existing structure and landscape whilst facilitating additional usable square footage wherever we can. We intend to improve the architectural aspects of this property whilst, you know, remaining congruous with the general quiet luxury Montecito aesthetic. On there, you can see the existing site plan. We have detailed survey and topography on the next following sheet. If you can jump to that, please. On the left-hand side, just kind of orient ourselves, you can see where the property is. It's located towards the back of the lot, and it has somewhat of a gentle slope towards Hot Springs Road, which can be seen on the right side of the property there. And to orient us, that's I believe the northeast. In the north, we have kind of up in the top left diagonal. The property has privacy hedging on all three neighboring sides. Our proposed additions are going to be in front of the existing house and are closer towards the middle and the front of the lot. With the furthest structure, which is the ADU, being approximately 20 feet away from the required setback lines, and the main residence being further back, located 50 feet away from the required setback lines. And kind of the general ethos of the design intention here was we were trying to maintain as many of the significant trees on site as possible. Part of our proposal is what we will be removing two, which are considered insignificant trees, one of which is an 8-inch small oak, which is located just center right, if you can zoom to that there, and another one that's a 7-inch tree. Part of our intention is we'll be utilizing, of course, a landscape architect to further flesh out the landscape design, which includes, the planting, the hardscape, to try to soften up the property as much as possible. If we jump to that next sheet, please. This sheet here kind of shows the existing floor plan and our demo plan. And what we intend to do is basically we intend to maintain the straight shot portion of the driveway, which you can see on the right-hand side of the sheet there. We intend to eliminate the semicircle portion of the driveway, as it currently doesn't serve too much function or purpose. The idea is to soften up the property by utilizing more natural landscaping elements. And for the structure, we'd like to maintain as much of the existing perimeter as much as possible. With that being said, we intend to demolish some portions of the home, namely portions of the roof. And as you can see there, the patio, which is located in the front, and if you can zoom to it, bedrooms 1 and bathroom 1. And that's merely to facilitate, an improved interior floor plan between the existing residents. And
can you move on to the site plan? We'd like to see what you're proposing.
Of course. So the next sheet shows our proposed site plan. You can zoom to that there. As you can see, we proposed a pool, an ADU, and the property addition has a new roof line as well.
Keep going.
I'm happy to jump to the next sheet. This shows a preliminary grading plan. We have a proposed.
Yeah, go to the floor plan elevations. All right.
So this sheet here shows the interior floor plan of the property. Something that we've tried to emulate a little bit was, somewhat of the estate feel by relocating the entrance of the house to the right side of the property, which is facing the driveway. And we're attempting to incorporate as many green spaces as possible. The idea is to incorporate, the interior and outdoor spaces in somewhat of a seamless fashion. In terms of program, the private functions of the home are going to be located towards the rear side of the home, and the public functions are closer to the front of the property. You can see at the bottom. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, keep going to the elevation. The new one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, model.
So yeah,
Alright.
on the top, right, you can see the proposed street facing elevation on the top. And our general idea here was to have a mixture of the new and old structures. We're planning to increase the amount of glass surface just to kind of create somewhat of an airy feel to bring natural light into the property, given that the property is south facing. In terms of material selection, we're intending to utilize some stone veneers for the exterior, travertine for the decking, to maintain somewhat of an older feel. And the second elevation below is the northeast elevation, and that's going to be facing the driveway. We intend to add some decorative elements, such as the reclaimed wood beams to the trellis there. And part of what we're attempting to do is, provide open elements such as the breeze wall by the entrance and the wood trellis to prevent the space from feeling a bit too enclosed. The next sheet will show some side elevations facing the south and a rear elevation.
You can go. Yeah, let's go through the drawings. Keep going. elevation. Okay, now that's helpful.
And this is just a quick 3D image showing the existing and the proposed structure, essentially, just kind of, what we're intending to do. We can jump to the next slide, and I think that'll facilitate the conversation. Yeah. So here we have some exterior quick renders of the property. Obviously, the first render is facing inwards towards the property from the pool. And our intention is, once again, to use stone veneers, reclaimed wood. Given that this is still, schematic design and it's a conceptual review, some of the materials are still in flux. So we wanted to incorporate some more modern elements to the property, such as the standing seam panels, as you can see there on the right. Another consideration would be to utilize wood siding or play with the roof line somewhat to have a more traditional aesthetic. For the pool, we're considering having a ceramic tile for the exterior. And as far as the pathways, we're considering adding some low wattage pathway lights kind of interspersed throughout the exterior pathways of the property. And of course, all these elements will be specified by our landscape architects in further detail once we receive comments from this conceptual review.
Next.
So here's some, additional quick 3D images showing the massing of the property.
Right.
The property currently has some very lovely, vegetation facing towards the street, and we intend to maintain as much of that as much as possible, whilst, potentially adding some privacy hedging in front of the property to reduce the noise pollution from the street and to provide a little bit more privacy towards the pool as well. But that in general will conclude our presentation for the schematics for the property at 227.
Thank you. So you have no landscape plan, right?
Not at the moment, no, but we are in contact with the landscape architect, and we heavily intend to utilize, a lot of natural elements in the property to soften up the design as much as possible.
All right. So that's does that conclude your presentation?
That is correct.
Thank you. So questions. Let's start with Bill.
Yep. The materials, it looks like you have metal siding and plaster and stone. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So standing seam metal roof and some kind of a seamed metal panel on the sides there. And then is that a daylight basement kind of space underneath that? If I'm looking at the bottom left image there, the 3D model, it looks like there's a very tall pedestal mounted kind of form there. Is there living space under there?
That is the ADU structure that we're proposing to add to the property.
And is that basement space under the whole home, or is it just that end of the building there?
So sorry to interrupt. It's not necessarily a basement space. It's just the ADU that's located there, just because of the slope of the property that's located slightly below, the general horizontal lines of the remainder of the property. But it's not intended as a basement space, and it's only fixed to that one location. To clarify, the property is a one-story property all throughout.
Say that again. What?
It's a one-story property all throughout with no basement space.
One story. What's the height of that? So the grade's existing, and you're kind of running the building long, and so at the far end, it's zeroing out to the grade, and at the other end, how high is it off the ground there? Would you say?
Sorry. So just to address, is this in relation to this ADU space in the bottom left here?
Well, I'm asking you how tall those walls are below that single story element there.
I believe I should be. I saw an elevation straight on.
I believe that's about 4
one
feet
more.
or so.
One more up there.
Okay, that's it, right, Babs. I'll go up
There,
there.
yeah, that face.
Yeah, you can zoom into the
So
two.
from the finished floor to the grade, what's the height?
Yep, right on the left-hand side.
Well, it shows 4, but it's much further down there. 6'9", it looks like.
It's 15 plus
It's 6'9" and 7 feet roughly. Okay.
23 feet.
Yeah.
22 feet.
And what is your actual FAR? Did you calculate it? What's the real FAR?
The real FAR, as we currently have it, stands at 3494, I believe, which is just under the allowable limit.
So you're saying you're under 100% FAR?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Stacy?
Just looking at the height of the main structure coming out, by having it raised, are you gaining anything from views? In terms of like ocean views or mountain views?
Sorry. The property doesn't necessarily have any exterior views. It's more front and inward looking property. But yeah, we don't have any views of the mountain or the ocean.
Okay, and the relationship to the lower building that's next to the proposed ADU that's part of this, its height relationship, it feels like the main structure is looking down into this. Is there some reason, like axial, why you chose to take it in this direction?
So, with regards to the additional dwelling unit that is street side, the location of it came as a necessity to sort of filter out the sound from Hot Springs Road. So we wanted a structure on the far end of the pool. And since this property doesn't have any views that are notable in any way, we basically designed the entire house to look inwards onto this pool feature that's supposed to emulate more of like a pond style pool. And from that perspective, the end of that pool is basically that additional dwelling unit. Now, there is variation in the natural topography, and we didn't want to really have a lot of disturbance to the soil. So that ended up with the additional dwelling unit being significantly lower than where we would ideally like it to be. But alternatively, due to the restrictions of the layout of the existing structure and the property boundaries, there isn't a different location that would suit it better from an architectural perspective. So that all the windows and glazing really focuses on looking inward onto the courtyard that's been created inside the property, and the additional dwelling unit, which is the shorter building at the far end street side of the property, is really to encompass that sort of patio, internal patio feeling that exists within the building. Now, there is a slight sort of clearing that you'd be able to see if you're in the living room looking out from that window onto that additional dwelling unit. One thing that I'd like to know is currently where the additional dwelling unit sits is incorrect. It's going to move closer, slightly closer to the boundary line. So it's moving, I believe, about 10 or so feet from its current location, which should give a little bit more quote unquote breathing room for the views from the living room structure.
No further questions.
Thank you. Rob?
I'm gonna, I think my questions kind of fall more into comments that I'm hoping will be helpful, so I'll save them to
Thank you.
get to that.
Robert?
David, can you pull up the Google map again? Zoom in a bit. I'm trying to get oriented. So it's on the left-hand side as you go up Hot Springs. Yeah, I'm gonna reserve the rest
Okay.
of this for comments.
All right, so yes, I have some question. Can you open up the site plan, please? I'll go back to the site plan. Yep, that one. Uh, I think with the batters, I yes. No, that should be it. Yep. So it seemed to me like you are encroaching into rear yard setback on the upper left.
So that's the existing structure as it currently stands. Uh, we don't intend to change much about that roof line or the structure in that area. Well, perhaps since the initial build of the property, the setback regulations have changed, but that's what we calculated, is that this portion does seem to encroach.
Okay, and then I have a question about your FAR. So it seems like you have 0.68 acre, and you have a pool cabana, you have a garage, and you have an addition to the house at about 4,000 square feet something. So it seemed to me like you are probably exceeding the FAR. So can you take a look at that at the next meeting and come back to us? And yes, it just based on what I've seen, seem like you're exceeding maybe quite a bit. But
Absolutely,
okay,
would be happy to have a look at that. We ran the FAR calculator and we found that we were just below it, but happy to obviously take a second look and study and make sure that we're in compliance with the FAR as well.
all right, thank you. Okay, so once you open public comment, anyone in the audience would like to address number 1227 Hot Springs Road?
No requests.
Okay, thank you. Back to the board and this item is here for conceptual review. So, first of all, I want to make sure that if you feel that we need to do story poll for the, so let's go through with Bill's comments first and see.
Yeah, could you go back to the model there, maybe, David? I like the materials. I like the general design concept. One thing I'm mostly concerned about is that very long linear element coming way out toward the street there. And being kind of a tall face on that end. Now, maybe landscaping can help. You can't comment on the ADU, of course, that's in the front. So these things might be helpful. It just feels like a very long linear room with not a lot of breakup. I see you do have a chimney in the entry, and so that does help. I think that's a chimney element. I'm just a little worried about that face there and the height of that against Hot Springs and the view of that. And if there's a way to screen that or keep that kind of softened to the road, I would want to make sure that you could do that. Generally, I like like I said, the materials and the selection of the materials and the configuration. It's just that one face sticking way out there close to the street that is concern to me. And story poles. Well, let's see what everyone else thinks. If we did story poles just that far end, maybe just the gable on that far end would be enough to just sort of get a read on what's happening. So, thanks. Because it does feel like a two-story there to me.
Okay, thank you. Stacy?
I agree with Bill regarding the height of that massing as it comes towards the street, and I think it needs more study. I would support story poles because it seems rather high. It almost feels like a two-story element, how it's perched at this point. I would prefer to see it work more with the topography, especially since you're not gaining anything such as an ocean view or a mountain view by having it propped, but maybe with softening and a landscape plan, it could work. I do appreciate the architecture and the style. But I also see there's a lot of room to improve it and to have it sort of naturalize more with the topography and the surround.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, I agree with those comments that Stacy said about naturalizing it. I think this is one of these projects where, and this maybe is my bias as a landscape architect, but I think you would tremendously benefit from having a landscape architect kind of at the beginning, because I see, kind of alluding to what Stacy's saying, I like the architecture. I could see where if you're willing to kind of remove the entry piers or gates or something, you could nicely S that entry drive a little bit more and take away that runway effect that you see from the street, where you have this, long runway and that goes right to the garage doors, which I don't think is something that I think would be, with a house of this stature, would be nice to kind of eliminate. And so create a little bit more, I use that word hierarchy, where the front door and that how you get to the front door is better identified. So I think you could do that architecturally. I think you could do that with paving. And I appreciate the fact that one like loop of driveway that I mean, you clearly are trying to do a lot of improving. So you got that whole section of driveway out of the project. So that's where I guess I take it and say, like, you could take it even to another level of doing something with that driveway and S-ing it. Because to me, it doesn't look like you have backup space right now either, in terms of getting out of those garage doors. It looks like it's hard to kind of back up and turn around and even kind of get out of there. So I'm glad you're getting a landscape architect, because I think you'll come back and I think you'll have a different solution that will only make it better across the board. So thank you.
Thank you. Robert?
Yeah, I agree. It looks like it's going to be hard to back up, and I don't know about fire, but you got to check with them. In contrast to my fellow board members, I think this design is incongruous, especially if you look at this lower left photo. It's just not, there's parts of it that are clean, but there are parts of it that are convoluted, and I think you could work on it some more and try to figure it out. But that white shed, I don't know if that's the ADU, I think, it just doesn't strike me as being a clean, modern design. There's too much going on. I do like the interior pool and that aspect, but I think you can clean it up a bit. As far as story poles go, if you're under the 25 feet, I don't know that we need them, unless the other members think so, or at least just do the one long ridge. But the only other comment I have is, having done this for a while, this is really a brand new house. It's not a remodel. You're going to find yourself, when you get into engineering, they're not going to be able to make the foundations work. You should just treat it as a new project, is my final comment.
Yeah, so okay, number one, I would like to definitely have a better understanding on the FAR. That's a big issue for me. Number two, and as Robert mentioned, I think that I really have some elements of the project I like, but at the same time, you are keeping some of the existing, like I assume that the garage had the existing roofing, or it looks like it's existing, and it's just seemed to clash with the majority of the new design. And I think that you definitely have too many elements. Some of them are nice, some of them are, just kind of like for example, the white element in front, I agree, and same with the garage in the back. So it seemed like a mix of it, a lot of things. And as Mr. Fowler mentioned, I think this is one of the projects, the landscaping is very important. So we like to see the landscaping, and most importantly, make sure that you take this project to the fire department, that you have the approval to work with what you have. You might have to change the driveway configuration completely to accommodate the requirement from the fire department. In terms of story poles, I mean, we normally require story poles for things that 2-story high, which is anything higher than 20 feet, which is constitute 2-story. So I'm thinking that if we require story pole, we just want at the end of the gable, the V gable at the end, that element, that's the only thing we need. How do you feel, other board members?
Yeah.
All right, so we would like for you to take a look and reschedule for a story pole, and we just like to see at the gable end. That's pretty much the only element we like to see, and that should be able to. Go ahead.
So I think to give before you get story polls, I think the applicant should take another crack at this and incorporate all these comments. And then I think we'll be better able to assess where the story polls, if any, are needed. We're a better spot for it, but I think they still have a lot of work to do to.
Yeah, so if you, after talking to the fire department, if you realize that you have to move things around and you have to change too many things, then we recommend you come back here before you go ahead and do a story polls. So I would like to continue for further conceptual
Further conceptual was
to the full board.
potentially story pools eventually.
Right. Based on the findings. Thank you. Moving on to item, okay, number 2 is being continued drop. So we are on to number 3, 260 West Mountain Drive. Thank you. You can sit. Okay, are you the applicant? You can sit at the table. All right, so this item is the brand new item. It's let's see now, with a conceptual review of the addition of 489 square feet to an existing residence, and that including new exterior glazing. And currently with a 2-story house of approximately 3840 square feet with attached garage of 797 and a pool pavilion of 100 square feet. Your name for the record, please.
Okay, that works. I'm Michelle McToldridge with Shelter Architecture.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I think maybe we should start with the page with the photos, although I'm concerned they're not all showing. Oh, good. There they are. So this house is at 260 West Mountain Drive. It's constructed about 20 years ago as a kind of modern Balinese structure. And so 20 years later, it's seemed time for a refresh, and we've looked at different ways to make that work and respect what's there right now. You can see how it's perched on the hill on this private road. These are drone shots in the middle, so this is not something you would have any advantage of anywhere in reality, but we included some street views from down below along the right side of that page, just kind of showing how much of it's not visible from the street at all. So if we go to the site plan, A1.2 is probably better. It's a zoomed in site plan because it's a large lot. The 2 darker areas are where the additions are proposed. The 1st-story addition is facing the south there, and that's just an expansion of which is a big art room that will be a slightly taller and expanded space, taking advantage of these amazing ocean views. And then the other dark area is on the second story where we are kind of colonnading an area of existing outdoor terrace to expand some of the upper floor areas. We're not going to be reinventing the architecture. We're going to maintain the deep overhangs, the general low slope roof, and some of just this kind of chunky plaster elements that are there now, and the deep recessed windows. What will refresh in this house is a lighter colored stucco, just a lot less
Can we
beige.
see, okay, first, what's your FAR?
We are at 90, it's on the A 1.1.
Yes, 94.
94.
Yeah, 94%.
Okay, great.
You know, if you can see that, the larger site plan, it's very large.
Okay, and then can you go through the plans and the elevation?
Yep, let's go to A 2.1. That is the floor plan showing the additions. You can see the expanded art room on the south end where it butts up against the existing pool equipment. And then the only other additions will be on the upper floor, but we're going to replace all of the doors and windows with a lot more glazing.
Yeah, let's go through the elevation.
Elevations are on 3.0. This is the new elevations. You can see that most of the refresh is achieved through bigger glass, a lot more less panels, bigger open areas of glass, narrow stiles, some bolder light fixtures, removing the wood pillars that are there now, wood columns that are a little more dated Balinese, and refreshing with some plaster columns with a different element.
So are you replacing all the doors and windows, or are those existing?
We are replacing them all.
So the elevation are all brand new elevation, new doors and windows.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
all the sliders and first floor are just all new. Upstairs, they're replacing some of the existing, and then you see the slider with the arrow on it on the upper floor is the addition on that floor level. So that's all new. And there will be a new roof material as well. It's a Tesla solar roof, and there will be some elements throughout the property, including the little pool, ballet, and over the entries where we're going to add some more of a copper fish scale looking element that kind of harks towards the original Balinese thatched roofs, but not overly literal.
Next elevation.
You can turn one more page, there's additional elevations. The entry is tucked away in the middle there, and the wall is existing, but behind it is the expanded first story area on that middle east elevation. And then you can see the south elevation at the top where we just, instead of small, tiny slider doors with transoms, we're just opening it up to bigger.
Which one is the new second floor?
It's at the top and it's set back, so the actual sliding door is that portion, the pointer, but on the left side.
So that's a new,
Comes out
second
over
floor.
the existing terrace. So actually that wall below is the terrace wall that's currently there. And then what you see above, right where the arrow is the new addition.
and what is the wall on the right-hand side?
The sloping wall?
Yep.
Yeah, that is an existing wall. If we can look back at the photos from the original design, and maybe we can zoom in on that center drone shot. Got this very unique curved element. That is the central foyer and entryway of the existing home. And then on the left side, that is also a curved wall. You see the stucco wall to the terrace railing and parapet.
Okay. Are you done?
Yeah, I am done.
Okay, back to the board for questions. Robert?
And can we go to the Google map? Trying to. No more questions.
Thank you. Rob,
What's the proposed color of the house that your colors kind of scheme you're going with? You don't need to be super specific. I mean, right now I see white plaster or something.
Well,
So
yeah,
Where are you
well, we
going with
want
it
to
again?
continue white plaster, a little less beige. It's got a real tannish undertone to it, and then the wood elements, so it's going to be a bit whiter and crisper. there.
As opposed to being more kind of darkened and I'm just,
Yes, yes, that's, you can see where it's in the shadow here, that it gets very brown. They want to lighten it up, but not a bold primer white at all, so.
well, yeah, just the reason I ask, sometimes when those, projects like that are sitting up on the hill, when you kind of go white, they kind of stick out more, I guess. And if you go more earthy, then they have more of a tendency to kind of like blend into the surrounding hillside. So that's why I asked. So, okay.
Stacy,
No questions.
thank you. Bill,
Are you going to get rid of those wood posts that are in the front there too, or do those stay?
Yeah, those are going to go too. So the
And-
one on the right goes due to the addition there, and we're going to have a kind of an open infinity corner to the glazing. And then the main one is going to be a stucco pillar. And we have some inspirational photos that really, are the driving force between cleaning it up like that.
That's all I got questions for. That's
okay,
it.
and I have no question. We have one speaker in favor of the project. Claire, please.
Well, yeah.
3 minutes.
So what would be really great is to go back to the photograph that the beginning of this, what you showed, and there's a photograph of the road. It's the one at the top of the pages, because what I'm going to talk about the road. Because right there, that's perfect. Oh, it went away. That right there, that's up in the corner. That's where I'm talking. It's the private road, okay? And I live across the street next door. So from my house, I look straight across my 3 acres. I see the road, and then I can see his house, this house. And it's a great house, fabulous house. And I have absolutely no issues with I want to know why I'm here is what I want to know is where is the parking going to be for all the workers and everything? Because you can see it's a private road and then there's the driveway. Where is everybody going to park while they're taking this building apart and doing what they're doing? Because it's a private road. And there's no parking on that private road. So for me, as a neighbor, I don't have any problem with the project. I just don't, it's illegal to park on that private road. So where's the park? Where's the parking? Where are you proposing to have the park, all the workers park?
All right, Claire.
That's what I'm
thank
here
you.
for.
We heard you loud and clear. Any comments for that?
Yes, and I did have a chance to speak to Claire about it, and it is undoubtedly an issue with this long, narrow, private road. It's going to come down to the contractor and being really vigilant about requiring all the subs to park off of that road. There is a neighbor who's done quite a few construction projects lately, and they've potentially offered some space there, and I'm sure they know, what it's going to take. They've down on Mountain Drive, and then we do have a fairly generous driveway area. It's just that people are going to have to back in and let people in and out and use that.
Well, I actually got out and measured it the other day, and there's only room for about 3 to 4 trucks to park on the driveway.
Yeah, look
That's
at the
it.
one the one just below.
And when you go up
Too
the
close.
driveway and then then
Four.
it opens up
It opens up.
and there's room for probably 3 to 4 trucks to
Thank
park
you.
there. So that's why I'm questioning, because
Yeah.
I'm the neighbor. And I actually have to maintain this road, and I just have to pay a whole lot of money to maintain this road. 'cause
Well,
we
can
just-
you talk to the neighbor, to Claire, the neighbors,
Yeah.
as the project move ahead and,
Yes.
and thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Right, with that, do we have anyone else?
No additional requests.
Thank you. I'd like to close the public comment on item number 3 and back to the board. So what we like to do with this project? So starting with Robert.
It's a puzzling house because it looks better on the elevations than it does in the photos. But I like the elevations. And, some contractors will van their guys up depending on what their trade is. But that needs to be figured out. And I think it should be an earth tone, not white. Other than that, I have no more comments.
Thank you. And Rob?
These clears are where you could make some money during construction, I guess, is if you have parking. It's when you look at the picture of this house, I mean, it looks really nicely kind of nestled into the hillside. And so it's really inviting. And so the only thing that I wasn't sure at first I reacted to the queen palms because they'll get bigger. But that one picture, the aerial view, the drone view, the hill kind of absorbs them, so they don't bug me there. But then when I look at the picture on the right, view of project from Mountain Drive, you start to see the queen palms are completely, to me, out of place with kind of the oak woodland flavor of that hillside. So, I mean, if you're doing a remodel, I mean, the queen palms are going to get quite a bit larger over time, and they look nice now. Like I said, they're absorbed by the hill, but I think over time they're going to continue to get too big. So there's some other palms that would work and kind of maintain kind of that flavor you have now with some of the tropicals, and then and have a lower skyline profile over time. But I like your project. I do think that you should consider those some darker, earthier colors than the white. But I like where you're going mostly. So thank you.
Lacey?
Yeah, I like your project. I think the improvements are going to be much nicer, especially with the new windows. And I looked a lot at the light sconces. That makes sense. It's pretty modest. I think I could support it. Yes, reconsider the white on the hillside. I mean, I think everyone probably agrees about that, but that's it.
And Bill?
Yeah, I appreciate you trying to make it certainly fit with what is there now existing. So I like that, and I think it's appropriate for that building, and you're really not impacting too much what's already there. So I'm fine with it. Again, I would agree with the other board members on the color. Try to get it more of an earth tone and tone down the white so it's not sitting like a bright beacon on the side of the hill. And if there was any consolation for getting the chimney cover a better cap than what's sitting on there
It's
while
actually
you're,
going away.
while you're at it. Oh, the
No more
chimney goes,
chimney, yeah.
that goes away. Okay, better.
White element will be no
Well,
longer.
it's not even the white element, it's the old shroud that just has nothing around it. So anyway, that was just more of a comment, but I could definitely give it concept approval, and yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Concept review. Yeah, I think this is a very minor addition, and I think that can we move this to the consent item for preliminary slash final at the next meeting. You fine with that?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Moving on to item number 4, O'Reilly Trust Garage, 1954 East Valley Road. Hello, Bob. Welcome, Jamboy. So this is another new item with a conceptual review for the remodel of the existing accessory building currently used as a carport to a fully enclosed garage with an expanded footprint and increase to 472 square feet. And with an existing house resident of 9,160 square feet. Wow, that's a big house. 366 square feet carport. And the project will require about 240 cubic yards of cut and 142 cubic yard of fill. It's on a 2.72 acres. Jim, all yours.
Okay.
Thank you.
David, it might, if there's a Google map, we might want to go to the Google map first, so you kind of have an idea where we are. I think I'm supposed to say for the record who I am. I'm Bob Kupiak, principal at Kupiak Architects. My associate, Ashley Connolly.
Mhm.
And it's kind of an interesting site, working with the O'Reillys for a number of years, doing different things. So finally, we're here. It has this tremendous maze in the center of the project. You can see the main residence behind it, and there's kind of a swimming pool in between the maze and the house. But if you look all the way over to the left-hand side, there was a carport that was built some years ago. And the project that we are now focused on is to convert that carport and add square footage to it so that we can build an ADU on top of it. I know we're not supposed to talk about
Oh,
that.
which one, the carport?
It's almost impossible to look at this project and understand what it is unless we actually talk about why we're doing what we're doing.
You pointed out.
So it's all the way to the left-hand side. You might need to get into the aerial mode a little bit more. So if you point left, 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 yeah, you can see a little, yeah, I'm going to show you exactly where. David. East Valley Road comes up and around. There's a second spur that comes off of it. Here's the little carport.
Oh, way over.
Roadway is coming way down here. The entrance to the property, you'll see, is where my finger is now. This was a carport that was built. I think we underwent several iterations of crazy things to do. And finally, the owner built a steel structure to create the carport that they wanted to have. So we're over here, Tip, it's an
And
87% FAR.
FA, okay, thank you. Yeah.
So if you go all the way to the left and look at the down, there you go. I never quite fully understand what's on the structural engineer's mind, but I think that the structure that they built with 8x8 tubular steel columns and this massive roof structure. One of the things that we decided that we wanted to do was we're going to reuse that structure. It actually is capable of supporting the ADU by infilling framing. So it has a sloped roof now. We're just going to burn the columns and level the roof and use that as the deck to build the ADU on top of it. The embellishments that we're making to the garage, which is really the part of the project that we're talking about, are the things that we've done to help sit the ADU on top of it. And there is some, additional foundation work that we want to do around the perimeter to kind of create an architecture that makes sense in terms of sitting a building on top of the structure. If we want to go to the next slide, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. In the end, we're kind of wrapping the garage level with some additional square footage so that we can actually create an architecture to sit the ADU on top of it. The ADU has a staircase that runs from behind, so image numbers 1 and 2, day and night, are, there's this little portal that enters to the side, and you kind of walk around the building and come up a stair, and you enter actually the ADU from the other side.
Okay, so for the record, we are only reviewing the garage down below, so you need to block out the ADU on top if you can.
It's just the architect's preference that, we actually give you an idea of why we're doing what we're doing. So maybe we go to a floor plan. Site plan, the entire area. This is the existing steel structure. And ultimately, these appendages on the first floor are really designed to let us sit the building on top of it. I mean, it's between the ADU and its commensurate deck that's in the lower right-hand corner. It is about 800 square feet. So we're kind of at the limit of what we want. We've still been playing with the idea, whether or not we want this trellis structure that you've seen in the rendering and go back there, whether we want it to be weatherproof or not. But it's still even engaged with that. It's, we're staying within the 800 square foot limit of the ADU. Just creating these plaster elements to help integrate the building that sits on top of it. I mean, we can, I don't know if we need to zoom in, but we can if you like. Let's go to the next page. Yeah, I mean, there you that lower, really get an idea of. The one thing I didn't say is aside from the maze, which is kind of an interesting feature for this particular unit, is immediately looking from that balcony, the owner has created this kind of spectacular cactus garden. It's their own mini lotus land. And, it'd be very nice to be outside on that deck looking out down over the cactus garden. I'm hoping that they're going to actually rent this to me. Go there and let's go to the next.
Thank you, Bob. Are you done?
Yeah, if you want to see the elevations, you can. And we have the light, there are a couple of light fixtures that are being added. I mean, virtually this project is not disturbing any of the landscaping. The existing landscaping that's there will remain. There are a couple of sconces that are mounted on the outside walls. And in that little portal that passes through to the staircase, there is I think they added there's just a ceiling mounted fixture that will invite people to understand where they're going to enter the building and go up the staircase. I think that does it.
That's it, right? Thank you. Back to the board for questions. Let's start with Stacy.
Do you need the lower forms around the garage? Because I know it's all elevated on a steel deck with the 8-inch, steel posts inside. Is there any reason architecturally that you have to bump out some of the bottom forms if you couldn't? Is there a way to maybe taper them down a little bit? Just a little more elegance, just so it's not quite so chunky?
Well, if we go back to the rendering from the front of the facade where we're creating these kind of like corbels to come out and grab the size of the building. I mean, I think that the under footprint should be the size of the upper footprint. I don't think it should be smaller. I don't think we want to overhang the upper floor to a lower level. I think it's part of the integration of the architecture.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, this might be a question for Kimberly, and Bob, you probably know too. Can you, we know we can do ADUs 4 feet from the property line. Can you do the garage 4 feet from the property line? Is that allowable?
What
Aren't
is
you
our-
pushed up against the property line there on that side? So you're using the 4 foot for the ADU, but,
We're not within 4 feet of the property line.
oh, you aren't? Let's go to the site plan.
Yeah. We're within, the lower building has a 10-foot setback. So there is a kind of income averaging game that's going on there because there's a little bit of yank that's going on there.
So,
If you go to the next page, there's an enlarged site plan. And you can see that gray area on the left-hand side of the dark dashed line, which is the setback, which is the 10-foot setback. We do have an overlap into the 10-foot setback, but at least with Kathleen, she's advised us that we can have the compensating area right above this, basically, on the other side of the setback for that amount of square footage. So it's really just those, small areas, but we're not in the 4-foot setback.
okay, well, that'll be up to planning to decide anyway, so I just thought it looked like,
Do we have the 4-foot setback line?
Yeah, if you zoom in, it's the other dashed line, the darkened one. Yeah, there you go, ADU setback, and you can
so
see.
you're somewhere in between there, I guess, currently.
Yeah, we're just short of the 4-foot setback
Actually,
with the roof overhang.
yeah, the roof is actually not even, it's not touching the 4-foot setback either. If you zoom down a little bit or like scroll down, you can see the edge of the roof, which is that very broad dashed line. Comes across and it basically touches right at the 4-foot setback. I can point to it.
Right, and the building
That's-
massing, as you can see, is 6'3" off the.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. And then, does the style of the garage, since we're not talking about the ADU, does that match the style of the home? I couldn't quite see. Yeah, so that,
Clay tile roof, stucco.
so the,
It's a Spanish style house.
yeah, does it have sort of exaggerated corbels like that too, or?
Some areas, not everywhere.
Yeah, okay. And some arches and some flat and openings, a combination.
There are definitely arched forms in the building.
Okay, okay. All right, that was it. Thanks.
Yeah, I think the owners definitely wanted to keep this building compatible with the architectural style of the overall site.
Rob?
Yeah, I guess to further continue what Bill, I think, was alluding to, and I like the look at the project. It looks like though there's some mix of styles or something, that the railings are very modern with that horizontal wire, cable look, and then you're kind of much more Spanish with the rest of the architecture. Is there any reason for that as opposed to more traditional?
I've come before the BAR a number of times using cable rail and a mixture of wood. I mean, I think the idea of the wood posts and the rhythm of the wood posts, there is a reason for the cable rail. We'd like to be able to see through that railing. If you're in the living room of the second floor, to have something that is actually.
As opposed to vertical wrought iron look, okay.
I mean, I think the horizontal cable rails kind of go away visually because you really wind up seeing the rhythm of the heavier wooden structure more.
Okay, that was my question. Oh, okay, so.
That's all right.
Okay.
Like,
Never mind.
interesting.
I'll reserve the rest for comments.
So basically, you've got two drives, the main drive and this quote service drive. And this is becoming living area. Have you talked to fire yet about how do they get in and out? Does it run all the way through or?
They had enough of a turnaround when this was built, when the garage was built and the structure was put together, it had to go through fire. The site and
The
the
metal
siding of this
structure.
building has already been compliant with the
But
Montecito.
that wasn't habitable space.
You're right, it wasn't habitable space, but it was a structure that needed to be protected.
That's a
I would check with
Sure.
them. No more questions.
Yeah, so, yeah, I have some questions. Number one, back to the question that Bill raised earlier, and this is also for Kimberly. Kimberly, are you with us?
I am indeed.
Thank you. So okay, I'm to limit my question to the garage, which is the first floor, and it seemed like the garage, it will be a brand new garage as I see it. And I can see that it's clearly encroaching into a side yard setback of 10 feet. Am I right that you cannot encroach on the side yard, only rear yard setback?
You actually are able to use a variable side yard setback as well as utilizing the variable rear yard. They have to maintain a minimum distance of 5 feet, and the area that encroaches into the required 10-foot setback has to be compensated elsewhere in that side yard setback. So it has to be kept free and clear.
So it's allowable in this case because it's a variable side yard setback.
That is correct.
Okay. My second question had to do with you mentioned about you want to make this to be compatible with the main house. You have a picture of the main house?
Back to the site photos.
Yeah, it's
Go to,
the one on the left.
there you go, where your hand is.
Yeah.
Can we zoom in on that?
That's from the pool. Yeah, there you go. Zoom in a little bit more. You can see the arches that we were talking about, the clay tile.
Yeah, so same is a seminacular with a clay tile roofing plaster. So forth. All right. So those are my question. Back to so would you open public comments for item number 4? Anyone in the audience would like to address 1954 East Valley Road?
No requests to speak.
Thank you. Back to the board. So this item is here for conceptual review. And once again, limit your comments to the garage. And so start with Stacy.
I mean, I think it's it's an acceptable project. It's very small. It's extremely modest. I do think down below on the garage that some of the proportions are a bit exaggerated and arch doesn't exactly match the arch on the house, but I would still be fine approving it as is.
Thank you. Bill?
I guess I should ask it as a question. Is there landscaping on that side where it's pushed up against the property? Is that pretty well screened from the adjacent neighbor? And is the planting on their side?
It's screened as giant hedge.
Giant hedge. And is it on their side of the property? Okay. 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 I like the exaggerated corbels, but I think I'm leaning a little bit toward the combination of arch and flat in that little square corner element for some reason to me doesn't quite feel right. And I don't know why that is. Also, if you look at the front view or your garage door in the relation to the, well, maybe I can't even say that, to the upper floor. The proportion seems a little shifted off. That maybe is just a comment that doesn't need to go on the record. But anyway, I think it's just that little corner element there, whether it's both arches or both flat tops or something, it just feels a little awkward to me. It's not super critical. Nobody's going to see it because it's buried in the property. But, maybe if there was something you could do to make it feel a little better, I would be happier. I do like the exaggerated portable pieces. I think that's cool. But it's that arch piece that's maybe the fact that it's raising above the header of the other opening that bothers me more than anything else. So anyway, other than that, it's good.
Robert?
I like the architecture, and I do think it goes with the house. And the exaggerated corbels, I'm fine with. If the neighbor's house is right across, I still think I would recommend taking a site plan to Montecito Fire and have them do a walk around before you spend a lot more time on it. Make sure that they sign off on it. Those are my only comments.
Rob?
I mean, I like your elevations, that look, the look that you have in the hand drawn. I don't know if they're hand drawn or they're CAD elevations, not the modeled, not the 3D model stuff, but it's got a nice feel to it. And so clearly you have the talent to pull all this off in whatever way. My first reaction to, again, that corner was that the plaster part of it feels really chunky. And I look at when you go back to the rest of the house and showed back there, and I'm not sure if you're going to match the color, but that I see some much more slender kind of columns and so forth on the main house. And so that's kind of what I'm reacting to. Now I'd approve if this is what you feel strong about. You're the designer. I don't want to get in the way of that. I'm seeing kind of reacting to, I think, what Stacy and Bill are reacting to, and thought that maybe I'm more a purist on that and thought some of that could be a little bit, more slender, I guess. But if you feel strongly in another direction, then I won't oppose you. So thank you.
Yeah, so the garage is definitely approvable. It's a beautiful garage. I can't tell what's going to look like above the garage, but and we don't have any good pictures of the house, so I'm not really sure if it goes with the house or not. But from my gut feeling, it probably a stretch of what the house with the house, because I'm not sure you have any elements like the cobbles and things like that. But other than that, I think we can probably schedule this project back on consent for preliminary final. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 5, 333 Hot Springs. Take a break now. Up. We can wait.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm Steve Fort with SEPS Land Use Consulting, and with me today is Tom Henson from BHNA Architects and Derek Eichelberger from Arcadia Landscape Architects. We're here for a conceptual review. We have not submitted for an LUP yet. We're hoping to do so soon. The project before you, it is a site where the previous house was destroyed by debris flow. What we're proposing is a similar proximity and a similar footprint, but it is not being proposed as a like for like quote for the ordinance rebuild. So just to be clear, like I said, it's generally the same orientation, same location on site. One difference is that the garage is now proposed to be detached. Excuse me. Just a couple things. The fire department is generally okay with what we've discussed with them to date. The driveway is okay with them, with the opening onto the private road, the private lane there. We do need to raise the pad for the finished floor to get it to get it to a certain elevation for flood control. I believe that finished floor needs to be at 171, if I'm correct, and Tom says I am. Similar to one of the previous projects, I think Tom will get into at the garage where we're asking for a 2-foot encroachment into a side setback under that variable setback, those provisions. I'm not sure if David has the landscape file. We did submit it a little bit late, but Derek can speak to and possibly even pass around if necessary, a paper copy, but Derek can speak to the concept of what we're proposing here. I think that's all I wanted to hit on, and then I'll hand it over to Tom.
Hey, hello. So the owner lived in the previous house for a long time, and she's finally ready to rebuild. The original house was 2,700 square feet, more or less. She's thinking of this as an age-in-place house, like a forever house. So we've added about 500 square feet on the lower level. So there's a first floor bedroom. And we've also, we're proposing to have an ADU on top of the garage, thinking long-term. You can see, it's an acre lot, but we're pinched where the house is going because there's a lane going up on the left side of the property. It's one of 3 driveway accesses to the neighbor to the west, and that gives us a 35-foot setback on the left side of the house. So in order to get at least like a 45-foot front on the house that faces the clear of the garage, we're proposing to push the garage in to the right 2 feet. That's the shaded area you can see on the map. Site plan. And then we're proposing to offset that by granting an additional foot all along the rest of the east side. We can go to the, as Steve said, we need to have the finished floor at 171 feet. We think the grade's going up maybe 3 or 4 feet. Compared to what it was before. We don't know exactly what it was before because the scour from the mud flow changed existing grades, but working backwards with points we know didn't move, like oak trees in the road, we think we're going to have to raise the finished floor about 3 or 4 feet to meet flood control requirements. Next, please. There should be a floor plan in there. Okay, so it's downstairs, living, dining, kitchen, breakfast room, and the room in the upper left is the potential first-story bedroom. And then, as Steve mentioned, we're pushing the garage away from the house. The water flowed from the north, and before the garage was attached, and it made sort of a dam. And the owner said she'd feel more comfortable if water could flow through. Between the two, plus it breaks up the mass. Maybe go, upstairs was 3 bedrooms, 2 baths before, and now we're 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. Other than that, it's pretty similar. Next slide. And there's the roof plan. The original house was a very simple box. It had 17-foot high walls on all 4 sides and a 5 and 12 pitched roof. The owner wants charming, quaint, New England style, a lot of dormers. So what we did was we kept the ridge at about the same elevation and we just bent it down. So instead of having 2-story walls on the north and south side, we have primarily 1-story walls with the bedrooms kind of nestled under the steep pitched roof. And that allowed us to wedge a small ADU over the garage as well, which is, you can see on the right. Next slide. That's the upper image is the back of the house facing the south. And the image below is facing east. There's a sun porch on the lower left, breakfast room, and then on the right, you can see the garage. The dormer is in a bathroom and it's high, and we're proposing to add a hedge all along the east side of the house. to give privacy to the neighbor. And we're wanting to have a cupola over the garage as an architectural feature that goes slightly above the height limit. You can see from the image above, the house, even raised 3 or 4 feet, is 4 feet below the maximum height limit. Maybe next slide. That's it.
Talk about land.
There should be a front elevations.
Okay, are you,
Well, the front's similar to the.
are you done with your presentation?
You want to pass around the paper?
We have a paper.
And Derek, you have any landscape drawings, or you're just sitting here and looking good?
Sitting here looking good.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
I would just say, it didn't make it into the set, I guess, but the landscape's gonna match the traditional style of the home. Obviously, we can't use all the water-using plants that we would want to, so we're gonna have to work hard to make sure that it meets all its requirements. It will have a small lawn in the back, and as Tom said, it's gonna have some hedging. We're very impacted by oak tree and sycamore canopy. So we have to be careful about encroaching into those zones, although we will have some paths that utilize that woodland for our resources.
So let me ask you, if it's a like for like rebuild,
It's
No.
not, we're not proposing it as a technical like for like rebuild.
so it's a brand new project, but you have to raise it above the flood elevation
Yeah,
From
of how many feet?
3 or 4 feet.
3 or 4 feet?
We don't know for sure because the old house, we have plans for the original house, but the elevations were not tied to anything. So we worked backwards like a tree and a road didn't move. It looks like it has to be about 3 or 4 feet higher.
Except for the garage. The garage can be,
Garage will be lower. Yeah.
okay, all right.
You have
So,
to use the AFE anyway, so. You're gonna have to use the AFE, right? You're in the
Yes.
flood, so
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what
AFEs.
the old house was.
Yes.
we've got
We met
Flower-
with flood control.
and Flowers and Associates is working.
so are you done your presentation?
Yeah. Do we have photos?
The photos in
There should
there?
be Photos.
Yeah, nothing, we got nothing on this end, so.
I think
There are very mature trees on the northeast and west sides. The house is well screened. It's in a hall, it's sort of a cozy dell homey house that maybe that's.
Good, thank you.
Covers it.
So, back to the board for questions. We definitely would require story polls, but let's start with Rob.
Yeah, no, like to see your landscape plan, Derek, and then the driveway, the throat of it's getting super wide. Is there some, did you folks look at the ability to, if you're doing so much alteration on grading and so forth, did you look at maybe coming into I mean, is the driveway kind of optimally located? Because it's kind of right on a curve, and so I'm sure the sight lines coming in and out of it, maybe they're problematic, maybe they're not. But did you consider another, as far as the driveway, kind of finessing that a little bit, or is that kind of the optimum way to get in there?
It's really the only way it can get in.
Okay.
The driveway on the left goes up pretty steeply.
Okay.
Be a big drop, and so we're having to remove the one small oak tree in the turnaround. I think it's a 13-inch diameter, but we're saving all the other like huge oaks and sycamores, and that was the one place with the least impact where we could fit the fire truck turnaround.
Okay, yeah, I mean, lacking pictures, lacking a landscape plan, it's kind of hard to fully assess what I'm looking at here.
Thank you. Robert?
We want to.
No questions.
Look at that.
Yeah. Bill?
See it.
Yeah, so the light lime green colors, the light lime green colors of those are new grades, is that right?
That's just landscape area.
Oh, no,
Green.
I'm talking about the lines, the topo lines.
Oh.
Are lime green. Are those new?
Usually get like your big head on the screen.
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, you are proposing what looks like some grading maybe around, maybe not a lot around.
Just a little bit, just enough to get the water to flow around the house.
And would you say your elevations reflect kind of accurately the topo there too,
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Because as I look at that, it looks like you're coming up, and I can't tell, I can't read the pitch of that, but it looks like it comes up steep and then there's flat and then it goes back down again, like you got this 2-to-1 around the building. It's not like that at all, though.
No, it's maybe 4-to-1
Okay.
around on the, we had to come down to save, the oak tree on the left of the house is huge. It's like full trunk, so we had to save that tree. So, the grade has to come back up 2 or 3 feet from that point. Right
Pushed
side of that tree.
everything to the right side there, I guess.
And we also want the water to flow, the 5% for 10 feet away from the side of the house.
And is there any other thoughts on how maybe the motor court could be softened a bit, maybe with materials, or maybe Derek can come up with some kind of tree plantings or something as an alley, you park under or something, I don't know, just.
It's gravel and it's mostly under drip line.
Already? Okay.
Already. And
Oh.
the scale's a little misleading. It's an acre lot, but half the lot is up like off the screen. So everything is smaller in real life than it looks there.
I just realized too, the icon you use for the tree is about like that, yet the canopy is like
Multiple
like massive.
times larger.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, that helps.
That came off. You can see the drip line running across the driveway.
And then on your garage, because it's probably going to be below your AFE, so you're going to
Yeah.
allow water to flow through there and you'll have flood vents and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, so you'll have to figure out how that'll look on the exterior. So, okay. All right. That's it. Thanks. Stacy?
No questions.
And I have no questions. We open public comments for item number 5, 333 Hot Springs Road. Do we have anyone?
No requests.
Thank you. Back to the board. The same order, start with Rob.
I like the project. I think the comment on the motor court, I don't know, I like the formality of everything and the simplicity of everything. So, maybe there's a way to soften the edges of the motor court. I think as we see more detail, I think it'll come together just fine. So I think you're in the right direction, so.
Okay, Robert?
I like the project. I appreciate the traditional style and would like to move it along as fast as we can.
Yeah, I like the architecture. I think it looks good. I'm anxious to see what you come up with, Derek. I'm sure it'll be great. I still would look at maybe a little bit of softening in that motor court, and maybe there's something you can do creatively that maybe makes it a little, it just seems like it might be a lot of gravel, that's all. Maybe a little more planter up against buildings and stuff, I don't know. And then working out your details with your flood control stuff, getting the grades worked out and heights and elevations and accurately depicting all that. But I think you're definitely on the right track and it looks great. Thanks.
Stacy?
I like the architecture. I think it's really pretty. And I think it's very suitable for this particular site. I pass by it quite a bit. And also too, just the size of the structure and its setback seems very appropriate as well. And I do appreciate the auto court on the backside as well and being more formal while the front is a little more laid back. I think it'll come out really well.
Yeah, so we definitely need to see some story poles, and we like to see it to to the main ridge, to the main house, to the left, to the right, and probably one more ridge. Even though we don't comment the FAR on the ADU, but it's a massing on the garage, so the secondary ridge over the garage. And I think that could be a successful project. I just, when you come back next time, take a look at the dormers. You seem like you have a lot of them, and you seem like you have many designs for it. I can see maybe two or three, especially the one facing the small one in the front over the garage. And you have three in the back. Then you have in the main house, you have sort of the real roof look like a dormer. So take a look at that, some minor things. So we like to reschedule for further conceptual when you have a story poles up.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
one comment that just struck me, I guess, is, and maybe this goes hand in hand with the house needing to come up, is I think if, and it's the comments on the motor court, maybe you can sync the motor court. If the house is coming up, maybe that the elevation between the house and then the motor court is kind of sunken a little bit. That might be kind of a nice effect where the motor court and all that goes away a lot better. And then the water in the garage is at the level of the motor court, and then the water can kind of get out that one little side there. So anyways, that's just struck me. Thank you.
And yeah, before you come back, make sure you have exact elevation for the new house after your meeting with flood control, so we can have the right information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could you reiterate what you were looking for at the garage for the story poles?
Just a ridge.
Just a ridge.
Yeah, just a
Okay,
ridge.
I got it.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are going to take a 5 minutes recess. 5 minutes. Thank you. We are on to item number 6, 1386 East Valley Road. And the applicant, your name for the record, please.
John Beecham.
Yeah, and this is coming back for further conceptual, and this item was heard on April 4th, 24, and we have several comments. Number one, two members expresses concern about the FAR coverage. Number two, consider design options to reduce FAR. Number three, restudy fenestration on south elevation and integrate with other elevations. Number four, restudy pool, consider relocating or reconfiguring. And number five, restudy entry gates. So you can address those 5 items, and thank you.
So thank you. I was not part of that original design. I've been brought in since then, and felt like just looking at the project, much to the board's comments, this project needed to be simplified, not added on to. And so our FAR is still over, but I'd like to come back to that in just a moment. What I'm proposing is to reduce the FAR. We're taking some structure away.
Oh, this used to be Richard Johnson project.
Start.
I see, right.
Right, he was the original.
Mhm.
Can you please go to the sheet P 1.0? It's a photograph of the home. Existing. There you go, back one. So this is on East Valley Road. The 2 lower photos are from East Valley, looking back at the house. That middle one. The original proposal had additions off of this house, expanding the footprint. And again, I don't feel like that's necessary. I think we can do the interior remodel we need to do without those extra pieces, extra additions. On the moving around the house, this on the left-hand side, that is actually 3 floors in there, but it matches the heights of the 2-story to the right. That's one element that's pushing that FAR a little higher than would typically be. So the FAR is in the square footage, but not all in the footprint. So as it sits on the site, it is a little more modest than the numbers appear. In that center photo, if you can zoom into that, I would appreciate it. Or the upper right, either the south view there. The house right now, it's a 30s era house. And at the time, this appears all original. And in typical, what we would expect with a more historical representation of Spanish colonial architecture, it wouldn't be broken up quite like that. That the massing is now like 3-4 components. So what I'm proposing to do is no changes to that exterior. One new opening in an existing wall, but that right-hand side roof line to carry it across, like overframe what's there, not taking new square footage into the home, but just overframing and carrying that roof line across to simplify this mass. If you can go to the next page, please. Might have to zoom out. So that upper left, kind of is what we have. So it really reads like 3 or 4 components there. And I'm really trying to simplify the structure, tie that right-hand roof line across the left. And just, I believe like the massing is going to feel more historically accurate to what we would expect with Spanish colonial architecture. And you can go to the next slide, please. So these are some very loose renderings put together just to kind of give you an idea of what that front would look like. There's the balcony component that's existing. Right now it's all painted out white. It has a little bit of a Monterey-esqueness to it. So I'd like to just bring that in with some darker stain, darker paint, so it can kind of read as its own. And again, like how that roof line carries across. If we can go back to the photos, please. on the back of the house, there's a, that center photo says North View. And yeah, those two right there. So on the right-hand side is, there's two little bump outs that are existing. And the right-hand side, I'm proposing to remove that. So that's taking 97 gross square feet away from the project and making it an opening that would come out to that garden. There's currently a site wall that's got some pool equipment in there for that tiny little spot. So removing those pieces out of it. The left-hand bump out is, obviously it's all existing. Up above is a master suite that has those windows at the top. They're currently at like a, I mean, it's almost a sub 6-foot plate at that point. So what's being proposed is to raise just that portion of the roof line as a shed roof off the back so that we can get a nice, we can get a more decent plate height off of that. And so there's a balcony above that left-hand side. So if you can go back to those two renderings. Or the, so on the top right, the conceptual northeast elevation. So that back part, so now because it is existing master bathroom, just like to give that a little shed roof, again, for the plate heights. Right now, they're just about 5'10", 6 foot, and just give that a more of an 8-foot plate at that point, and then make it a little master deck. So I can show you that in plan if you need this. There is, so the original, we can go back to the site plan now. P1.0, I mean A10. So the pool was proposed in the front yard. So I agree with the board. I don't feel that's quite appropriate. So I'd like to place that pool in the back of the property. So that leaves in the front, no, it was proposed to have some gates off of East Valley. They're recessed in 30 feet. I have met with the fire department on site to always want to include them right from the beginning. I've also met with Caltrans inspectors to see how the right-of-way improvements would go. They're okay with the site wall, but some of the edging in there, we may have to pull back. That workshop garage is existing. And then proposing like an outdoor kitchen in the back. So we can go to the, let me just go through the plans quickly. Existing, and that left, lower right plan is existing ground floor, and the left is upper left of it is that area we're removing to kind of help reduce that floor area ratio. Next. So you can see on the top left, that's a third floor. That it is a third floor, so that floor area counts in the floor area ratio. But the reality is that plate height in there is, I think it's about a little over 4.5 to 5 feet. So it's almost like an attic that is for children's bedrooms. So that's part of that floor area ratio that you can have. And if you can go through to the next. So predominantly an interior remodel. Lower left area is some new openings in an existing wall. So just some glazing, some pair of doors right there. Next slide, please. So no changes to the second floor. Next slide. No changes to the third slide. And that part that's shaded is that overframed section to try to clean up these various masses and go from 2 to 1 in that main body of the house. And in the upper right is that little shed portion that is on the back side. So now we can go to the elevations. So upper left is existing, lower right is the proposed. So that just kind of gives you a sense of where I feel like that change would happen. On the proposed elevation, I'm sorry, can you go back? So those are the doors and glazing on the lower left, And up above, just punch in one new opening up there, just to, excuse me, break up that mass of wall that's so high. And then you can go through the rest. And then on this elevation, you can kind of see upper elevations existing with that tile roof, that hip. Those are the only two hips on the whole project. Everything else is a gable. And take off that hip and make that just a little small deck off the master bedroom, bathroom. Next. And that's the back of the home. And go to the next. No real change to this elevation except the removal of that other small hip that's there. And this is you have to zoom way in. This is a proposed gate. This house is super simplistic. It's not calling for a lot of ornate detailing. And so kind of thinking that way, proposing that more of a wood fence here instead of a lot of ironwork. There is no other real ironwork on the home. So this is the gate elevation. Again, these are the 30 feet off the right of way. Can you go to the next? Do we have another one? There's our landscape plan. This one's just kind of more focused on the pool area in the back. And if you're looking at the floor plan, left-hand side, there's a small patio piece that's a little bit down on grade, and the two jacarandas are proposed on that front. There's two new trees closer to the house. And then in the back, kind of keeping some existing fruit trees and then some new plantings. I'd ask them to kind of just consider plantings that we would have expected in the 30s, the 20s. Kind of keep this, because we have Casa del Herrero across the road, and we certainly don't want this project doesn't need to go in another direction. It needs to kind of go back more historical than trying to go overboard with something new. So try to keep those more of a Mediterranean palette and just simple and more California natives is what I'd recommend. That was the presentation.
Okay, are you done? All right, thank you. Bill?
While we're on the landscape plan here, is there a little bit of space there so the driveway is existing, is that right? The curb cuts and the drive all the way back, are you changing any of that, or is that not widening it or anything?
At the right of way, I'd like to potentially widen the one that would be on page right, but we'll see how Caltrans is working with us on that one. It functions now. The fire department did not need that one widened. It would be more of a convenience for the owners, but that'll be a little bit of a, see how Caltrans.
Or your gates needing to be 16 foot wide then, or?
Right, so fire department would allow us to have the right side gate. That would be the side gate smaller. They don't require the full 30-foot depth.
Like a secondary gate, yeah. Okay.
So again, I've only been able to speak with a Caltrans inspector,
Okay. What is your roof material? Is it a two-piece mission tile? Okay.
right now, calculations look like we can keep all of it as the original tile.
Oh.
We won't have the gains of that.
Mm-hmm. No, you're going to be taking it all off and trying to salvage it, so you're going to have breakage and, yeah. Is there any reason, could you go to the exterior elevations, they're the new ones? Is there any reason why you couldn't, instead of a break pitch on that, just pull the roof all the way up. It'd raise the ridge just on that one swatch, and raise the ridge and then drop it back down instead of doing a existing to a break pitch. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Go to the,
Street front elevation?
yeah, well, there, right there. That one right there on the right, bottom right. You see we have your break pitch over, you're trying to raise the plate of that room. Is there any way you could, if you just kept the plate where you want it to be and just came straight up with the roof pitch to match the adjacent roof, then you'd California over and you'd raise the ridge there at that point. I don't know if that would exceed your height or not, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just seeing if there would be a way to not have a break pitch on that, so.
But then it'd become more of a hip then?
No, it wouldn't be a hip, it'd be a gable. It'd be a gable, but it'd just be taller there. I could show you yeah,
I think the intent was just kind of
keep it simple, yeah, right.
certainly study.
Yeah, and just a thought. I just was asking if there was going to be an issue to do that, so. The pool equipment is new, right? Okay,
There's existing, moving that, but there will be new for the.
and so you're reducing, so your FAR was higher than it is going to be now. So that's not an issue really at this point. Okay, great. That's all. Thanks.
Robert?
No questions.
Stacy?
Can we go back to the landscape plan? Is anybody here from Arcadia? Okay, well, you're gonna have to answer it then. I'm looking at the pool deck and I'm just trying to understand why so much stone to the left. Is there like a particular use happening, or maybe I'm not reading it right? Is it going all hardscape to the driveway?
It's a great question. It is, on the left of that stone is a proposed outdoor kitchen.
Okay,
There's a planter break, those two red, actually there's some existing fruit trees.
Mhm, mhm.
So there's
There's no structure or anything over the outdoor kitchen area? It's still a lot of hardscape.
creation of a trellis there.
Okay. Okay, and because I'm looking at that and wondering if like the deck chair area isn't a little bit redundant when you already have that much hardscape for chairs, but, and then two, was there ever, in the previous board, did they mention something about the two gates? Just because I've had the board push back on me before with two auto gates. Do you guys recall?
Just said restudy entry gates. There wasn't.
Okay. I do know that fire will let you take one if you say egress only and pull it up almost to the same line as the wall. However, I know that the board probably wants it pushed back and a little bit out of the way to give it some shadow and effect.
See, walls in and out.
Mhm, mhm.
One
Agreed.
after meeting the fire department.
Yes.
Well, still going to be some sightline studies.
Okay. And that is a new wall that's at the street frontage, correct?
It's not right on the street. Have it recessed back.
How much space do we have there?
Just like
Oh, I hear you.
12 feet.
Okay. That's it for questions.
That's 12 feet from asphalt. 7 from property.
Okay.
Rob?
Have you looked at, is there a view corridor on the east side of that, on the east side of the house, on the right-hand side of the house, as I look at that? Is there an ocean? Because I know this property, I thought the reason the pool was in the front was there's this great views out, ocean views or something. No? Why, I thought that was the reason why the pool was out front when at the last game. So there's no view corridor down on the right side of the house that's worth grabbing onto that would prompt the pool to be oriented maybe up and down or a different way where you take advantage of a view.
Sorry, are you referring to the backyard or the old
Ye-
land that had it in?
I'm referring to on the right side of the house. I don't have the, I'm not sure whether it's north, east, west, because I'm not looking at the,
If you can go to the architectural site plan, it'll have the north arrow on there.
just so I can, okay, so it's to the east side. So on the east side of the house, is there a view corridor where maybe you would orient the pool back up in the northeast corner of the property and kind of have a pool area back there with deck space and simplify in that, and then maybe have even more landscaping over there to the left hand or west side of the backyard?
Is some sunshine there. Pretty heavily shaded on that side. And I'd just like to be able to have the option for someone to be able, the pool to be in the sun, more daylight, longer part of the day.
And then along those lines, did anybody study the notion of simplifying the driveway situation where you come in on the right-hand side or the east side, and then where it kind of then S's, so you kind of come in and then you park you have a couple of guest spaces, and then you go back to access the garage and then get rid of that left-hand leg of the driveway paving and that other kind of entry? Was that a consideration at all?
The homeowners would park up at the garage.
Mhm.
So that kind of needed to stay. It is.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that. So I'm suggesting you come in on the right-hand side, and then you sweep in and you go by the front door, and you could have guest parking somewhere in there, and then you can kind of keep on going and access the garage, but you get rid of that left-hand leg rather than having the full circular drive and the two sets of entry gates, whether you just have the one kind of entry gate and then have a much simpler kind of driveway experience.
To the owners, I know they appreciated that.
Everybody always likes the circular one.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants the circular if they can get it. Yeah, no, it's hard to, yeah, exactly. It's hard to give up, but there's something to be said for getting rid of paving and then creating kind of one main entry, having more of a motor court right in front, and then you kind of go around to the back to access the garage, but you have kind of the motor court guest parking, kind of more in front, and you can get rid of a whole lot of paving, and then that all goes to landscaping. And so anyways, just a,
After meeting with her, didn't have to have that full 14 width as that's for that secondary gate.
right?
Lose some additional pavement.
You're getting a lot more paving with this way, but okay, those were just two questions in terms of site plan layout that I just didn't know if you folks had explored. So, thank you. Those are all
Thank
my
you.
questions.
David, can you go back to the pictures, the first page? Existing pictures. Yep. And okay, can you zoom in on the south elevate view? Okay, and then can you go to the SketchUp of that elevation? Yep. So the question I have is that I know that you're raising the roof in the middle. Does it do anything to the interior? Is it mainly to help the elevation or it helps the interior?
It helps the elevation. It's not gaining enough. The spaces that are underneath that section of the roof wouldn't really gain by like trying to take over that space and vault those ceilings. Again, this house was really basic inside and it didn't have big vaulted ceilings. So that part's proposed is more to overframe that, not new square footage or new volume inside.
So this is the question. If I was to tell you that by doing that, it's not helping the elevation, what do you have to say about that?
Sorry?
By doing it, it's not helping the elevation. Just a question. By raising the roof.
Well, not raising what you see, just extending a section of it to connect the dots.
Okay, just a question.
I'm sorry, I don't follow the question.
Yeah, just a question about, you think it helps?
I think it helps from a historically, like, from what you know, our community was based on 20s representation of Spanish colonial, and those volumes and forms were more simplistic when they had a chance. And a lot of our what I feel most successful projects that are in our community, those that we all kind of cherish, they did simplify when they could. And that's what I felt like this one, you know, that architecture was a little more long and connected, not individual tower type feel. And that's what was the goal with this, was to kind of put these masses together as one body instead of section.
But visually, it seemed like it could make the house look more massive. Just a question. All right, that's all I have. So can we open public comments on item number 6, 1386 East Valley Road?
No request to speak on this one.
Okay, back to the board. Let's finish up with Bill. Start with Bill.
Yeah, on this elevation, to Tip's question, so that window there on the right, on the lower right, what's the head height of that? Is that like 10 feet in the air or? So the lower right elevation, the most right upper window, what's the head height of that?
It is 7'6".
The head height is 7'6". Then, so then do you step, is there a split level in there? Oh. Okay. Okay, so then, oh, I see.
So there's a hallway, and so that
You're going up and down and, mm-hmm.
raise those steps up.
Ah, okay. Okay, let's go back to the elevations, the new elevations. I think generally I'm okay with what you're doing. Go to the uncolored ones. There you go. That's it. Yeah, I think, and go to the next one. I think it's the next one. Yeah, I think I'm fine with what you're proposing there. I still have a little bit of reservation out on the brake pitch there because it feels like it was like a little addition that got sort of plugged in there. I don't know if it's critical, but if there was a way to look at that roof and see if there was a way to just clean it up and make it look like it was part of the original house and not like a little shed piece that got added. I think I'm good with everything else. I mean, the existing drive is the way it is. Normally, as we've talked, we wouldn't have 2 curb cuts, but it's already there, so I'm okay with that as it is. So I think generally, it'd be interesting to see details. Are you replacing windows and doors too throughout or not?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, proper detailing of that and cut lights and proportions and all that kind of stuff would definitely be important to see once you get around to that. So, but yeah, I think I'm good with what you got so far. Thanks.
Okay, Robert.
I agree with Bill. We need some detailing of the rakes and eaves. I also agree with Tip in that I'm not sure all the work to take off all that tile and overframe that roof if you're not getting added interior area is necessarily fruitful, but I get where you're going with it, so I can support this project.
Stacy?
Yeah, I generally like where this project is going. I've passed by it numerous times and was wondering someday something was going to happen to this house because it seemed worthy. Um, my concerns are how much hardscape there is, but I also agree too with Rob that I'd like to see it studied, possibly just because period-wise, 20s, 30s, they did have motor courts in the front. And even though it might not necessarily take care of, reducing hardscapes in some areas to increase it there, typically situates guest parking better along the front of the house. Maybe too, there's a lot of steps, a lot of hardscape going to the front of the house that I don't know if it's actually adding to the aesthetics as much as if there was a way to somehow bring some planting into it a little bit, like the George Washington Smith on Middle Road. I still love how, you have that blank space and the succulents are right up against it and it breaks up that facade a bit. And it helps. Or it's pots or something on that level, but maybe a little more formality to the front. And then, yes, not having two gates both recessed in. I agree with that too. I mean, I think you're on the same page in that dimension. That's it.
Rob?
Can I see the landscape plan or the site plan, please? I think, by the way, on your gate, for the most part, I like your gate. I think what happened before, if I recall correctly, was the gate was not very interesting. And so we commented on the gate at that time. But I think there's some things that could be cleaned up, like Stacy's alluding to on the front entry. There's hardscape and there's a lot of steps, but there's no meaningful spaces in there. I'm wondering if you stepped up, whether you could almost create kind of an elevated entry courtyard and have something a little bit more traditional in terms of an entry courtyard. It's almost kind of modern the way the steps kind of come down and the level changes, and then it kind of brings you into areas that they're not really wide enough to be usable and meaningful and too wide to be a walkway. And I feel kind of the same way with the pool. I think it's at least seeing if there's another way to design the rear yard hardscape and pool area and get rid of some of the paving out of that. There's an awful lot of paving back there, and I think you could have sunny kind of lounge areas and have a lot more, and have some usable hardscape and some entertainment areas, but have a lot more green back there. Um, I'm I'm not convinced on the. I mean, the rear terrace is fine, actually. That's nice and simple. But on the architecturally, and I guess that's more, I leave that to the architects, but I kind of look at that Spanish colonial. And so what you started with, there's like some interest in some of the different hierarchy and some, the way the composition works. And then I know you've simplified it, but now I feel like it's a little boxy and it almost like needs some other piece of architecture to kind of to work with kind of the box portion. And so that's kind of it feels like it needs something else when you do that. So I'm not sure you gain a lot by raising the roof in that sense. But again, I would defer to the architects on the board, and if they're okay with it, then who am I to say? So that's not my area of expertise, so I'll defer to them. But that was just my reaction to having seen a lot of these kinds of Spanish colonial architecture and Santa Barbara style and some of the traditional aspects that I'm familiar with. So anyways, there's a lot of good pieces, and so I generally support you where you're at, though. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. By the way, you are welcome to make comments on architecture any way you see fit, as we like to sometime more or less your landscape plan too, so that's work both ways.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I think the pool, I think that probably be a better solution, put in the back. The landscaping, I think it's probably will be very nice. I'm still not there with you on how you want to fix the front. Can you go back to the front? Yep. I mean, the house is, we all know the house. It's not the most attractive house on East Valley Road, and your job working with the client to make it look, I think, better. That's probably why you're doing what you're doing. And I'm just not sure it's the money well spent to raise the roof, because you have to re-roof that portion completely. When you raise it, you cannot try to match it. Maybe you have a plan to re-roof it anyway, and suddenly it was massive before, now it become more massive just because of that. And look at that. I mean, I'm not sure it looks better. That's just my blunt opinion on the design. So I'm not sure I can even support it, because I think it just I don't know. I just feel like it's not doing anything to the front. I wouldn't say this is more attractive. So I probably, I mean, if you gain more square footage, that's something else. Seems like you're not gaining anything. Seems like the ceiling pretty tall already in the middle space, because the middle is lower than the two ends, lower than the right end. So I would, I'm not sure I can support that revision doing that. So that's my position. So what do you like to do? You want to bring this back to preliminary final,
I think
or to
there's
consent?
enough issues there
Oh.
that let the architect and his landscape architect take just another, like, loose, doesn't need to really just kind of hand sketch loose stuff, do some other studies with some of the things we mentioned. That process in itself may bring us back to where you're at now, but I think we need to eliminate what I think this board is seeing are some other possibilities for this site and for the architecture. And so I think if you can do that, I'm not talking about, again, not spending a lot of time, almost hand-drawn or simple CAD stuff. I think it would at least, for the board, kind of zero in as to the right way to go.
So what do you like to do? Bring back to the full board,
Yeah, I think so.
Robert? Yeah, so we can schedule it for preliminary final to the full board, but we have I personally have some really big concern about the roof. And you probably would not get my vote on it, but other people might support what you're doing, so. All right. So that will be it for today's meeting, and who would like to make the motion to adjourn?
To adjourn today's meeting. I'll make the motion to adjourn today's meeting, September 5th.
Second by, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's it. Adjourn. Thank you.